Welcome to the special guest host series of the Trauma Therapist Podcast, where I'm going to be handing over the mic to some incredible guest hosts. In each episode, you'll hear fresh perspectives and unique insights to inform and inspire you, and all the while keeping the heart of this podcast alive. So sit back and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erica Hornthal. I'm a dance movement therapist, author, and entrepreneur out of Chicago, Illinois. I've had the pleasure of being on the Trauma Therapy Podcast before with Guy, and now I have the pleasure of bringing one of not only my inspirational guides, but someone that I look up to, someone that I've been able to become very friendly with, Dr. Kathlyn Hendricks. I'm so happy to have you for this conversation today. Dr. Hendricks is an author of many important books. You need to check them out. A successful entrepreneur, and as we were talking, an evolutionary catalyst. So, Kay, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to just have this beautiful conversation with you today. Maybe you can, I would love to hear just what's been pertinent for you in this modern day and age. You know, we were just talking about this. We've been going through a lot as a society in our country. Even people, I think, that don't identify as having trauma can some way, shape, or form identify with trauma today.
If they didn't have trauma, they have it now.
No. Yeah. And, you know, we don't have to get into the specifics of why, but what is coming up for you in terms of what the world needs now? Because I think we can look anywhere and see trauma. And I know that this is something that you and your husband work a lot in. What's coming up for you?
Well, I've been interested in the roots of what we now call trauma for decades. And for me, I think trauma comes from a combination of things where I don't feel safe in my environment, so that the feedback that I'm getting doesn't match my inner experience. And then there's this disconnect of what behavior is expected, and then that doesn't get met with a coherent response. The shock of the way that we have done things for, to really provide safety for everybody, and in a sense of being able to come home to yourself, all of that consistency has disappeared. And for me, one of the roots of it is that we don't have a shared reality. That what some person says is true, another person was starting with alternate facts, 8 years ago. That's where I saw things really start to go sideways. And the sense of respect and connection, I think, has disappeared for a lot of people. And the sense of I'm not going to be able to share myself openly. And I think a lot of people experience that in a way that's confusing to them, because they don't know why they feel so discombobulated. And my sense is that the structures that we operated in as a society, certainly, because I came of age in the 60s, and we made a lot of big changes to society. And all of those have disappeared now. Yeah. And so having it's almost like having the road crumble, or you're starting off down the road.
The infrastructure.
Right. And then suddenly it goes off in another direction. But my sense is that most people are in a level of fear that's become so ingrained that people don't realize that they're walking around in a cringe, or in a freeze, or in a faint, or in a fight back. In the expressions of fear, I think you just look around anywhere and you'll see that people are in fear, but they don't know they're in fear.
Right.
And when I'm in fear or you're in fear, one, I can't think. So we go to a different part of our brain and we're not able to relate or connect. But the other thing is that other people occur as the enemy. So from fear, I go into my reptilian brain and other people are the enemy. And so I think that's a lot. And so you can say something and somebody barks at you and, it doesn't, the sort of the guidelines, when I was growing up, they were pretty rigid. Like, you say, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Thank you. Those kinds of things have pretty much disappeared. And it gave us a kind of, this is how we operate. And, and it had its own problems for sure.
Sure.
But my sense is that generally, because people don't feel safe, they're taking that as there must be something wrong with me. And so there a whole bunch of people have contracted and are not really available for the connection that would give them, a sense of, of that, I'm safe. I can connect with people. It's okay for me to be here. And so I think that's one of the basic needs for people is there a place where I can be myself?
Yeah. I love that you always talk about aliveness too. So that makes me think of that, as like we're stepping away from our aliveness. I want to ask you how we establish, or how you with your with the people you work with, or how we can start to establish that safety. I know that's a big question, but maybe before that, how do you see this showing up in the body, right? You have this huge background in somatics and trauma. A lot of people are talking about that now. We know it's not a new conversation, but in the work that you've done and the years that you've been doing it, and even just today, you started to talk a little bit about how the fear shows up. What are some of these markers that we see in the bodies? How do we know when? I know we can't assume it all the time, but how might we know that we're experiencing fear, or how might we see it in someone else in just a body perspective? Can you shed light on that?
Yes. Well, a couple of things that I see are that people have made themselves smaller. Just generally, like either collapsing or you can make yourself bigger, but when people go into fight, they kind of go into more of a gorilla posture, expanding, but it's rigid in the sense that there's not an availability to receive. And I think that a lot of people are fleeing up, like into their heads and thinking about things and trying to analyze, and but there's this kind of frantic adrenalized.
Social media doesn't help because we're like thinking about it all the time, seeing it all the time.
And it's touching you all the time, and that kind of distraction. And my sense is that if one of the things that happens for people in their bodies, I think, is a kind of an either or. I either have to just go along with, or I have to separate totally, or I have to be right, or I'm just not going to pay any attention to you, and that kind of lack of choice. And the other thing, if people will notice, am I able to choose where and how I'm using my attention? And I think that's probably the number one thing that people could look at is, do I get, from the old movie Up, do I get squirrel, all the time with social media, or
such a good example.
The next bad thing that someone's like, oh my God. Or am I able to actually receive the connection that attention gives us? And one of the basic needs of humans is to give and receive attention. And if you're feeling like, I'm missing people, I don't have anybody to talk to, and how I think that will show up in the body is a sense of yearning or longing. So it's not just fear. I think for a lot of people, it's where are my people? Where are my friends? Who do I have to talk to? So the sense of also, am I am I able to ask for what I want?
Oh,
I
that's
think
so
a
hard
lot
for
of
people.
people are editing. So if you find yourself editing, is it, can I ask here? Or I shouldn't even ask, or it's not even possible. So if you feel a sense of resignation, so for me, that would be part of the collapse. So if I go into adrenaline, I'm much more likely to go into the fight, and I'm going to feel it up around my shoulders and jaw. But if I'm more longing for connection, I'm going to feel it more here, like a heaviness in my chest, more of a kind of sadness. But if I'm really more caught in fear, I might have a lot more butterflies, or startle. One of the things that I noticed was that I got startled much more quickly. And that I thought, oh, I'm more at the effect of what's going on. And so I think heightened responses that don't seem to make sense to you, I think those are things to look for, that you've gotten, what we now call dysregulated. Which
yes, that I used to really like using that term, and I'm like, oh, now everybody uses that term.
Yeah, I know.
That people, but we don't have. It's a good word.
Also, I don't think people know what that means. So
absolutely right.
For me, I would I'm sort of apart from myself.
Yes,
I feel like a Pinocchio that the strings have gotten
disconnected, and like they're Yeah. I also like to, I think we've gotten away from regulated isn't calm, right? To me, regulated is capacity. It's the ability to flow through different states, and I know this audience is no stranger to the window of tolerance. To me, it's about expanding that window and being able to maneuver through it. And, we love movement for that reason.
And movement, and also if people find that they're moving less.
Yeah.
Just in their day, moving less or not enjoying moving. And my sense is also that if people are noticing that they're not able to attend and to follow through, I think that they're not able to function, with the high level of responding. So instead of responding, people go into reaction.
Yeah, and everything's a reaction.
That's the big difference. So if you're reacting, you're in fear. Yeah. And if you're responding, you're using movement, you're turning toward what is happening, and you're able to move through it. It's not as if everything has to be perfect, but if you're able to use yourself, and expand your agency, your ability to move through things, then then my sense is that people can, expand their ability to make choices. But if you're finding that I don't know what to do, I feel confused. So also the feint, the expression of fear that people are not as familiar with, is that I just feel like I just am overwhelmed. I think that's what I'm hearing from most people. I'm just overwhelmed, and I can't really find my resources.
Yes. Overwhelmed has become a big word too. Now I'm hearing just the word overwhelm. I remember the first time someone said to me, "Is that a word?" And I was like, "Well, it is now." Because you can be overwhelmed, but I find so often we're just talking about the overwhelm that we experience. Would you share some tools or resources, things that you employ either in your workshops with your clients that can help us move through some of these postures of fear, so to speak?
Yes. Well, I have a whole section of our website, Foundation for Conscious Living, that's really about fear, how to understand fear, how to move through fear. But one of the basic things you can use in the moment is what I call fear melters, and they're basically moving your body so that you don't remain frozen in fear. And they're very simple movements. So for fight, there's oozing, where you think of yourself as in a
I love
kelp
this one.
ocean, or hot fudge over, and particularly you want to get it through your shoulders, because you cannot fight when you're oozing, and it softens that reaction, and then flee. People flee up, flee forward, flee into the next project, flee into their phones.
Yep. Next email, next post. Yeah.
Next, and what's happening now? So fleeing into into the past or into the future. And the fear melter for this is what I call rooting, which is you really and the shorthand version is find your feet. Just find your feet and then feel what your feet are touching, and allow the energy of the earth to support you. And so, and there's more, but that's like a first aid. Yeah. And then frozen, which we have, if you're paying any attention, you can be frozen, dozens of times through the day. So that freeze. So the wiggle, one of my friends calls it also a shrug. You can do a little shrug. Just shrugging off.
I find it so helpful, like even because I'm very familiar with your fear melters, is like for a lot of my clients, you've done this before, starting with your extremities. It's like people are like, but I'm frozen, how do I move? I'm like, but your fingers, your toes can move, and it's so out of reach that we're like, oh, you're right, I can't do that. And then all of a sudden your whole body's wiggling.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you mentioning that, because we can be frozen and still start to wiggle fingers, and then that can sort of thaw out the rest of you, just gradually. And when people do that, they immediately feel more aliveness because you're getting more circulation and more flow. But the big one is faint, when people are in their overwhelm.
Yes.
So the actual reaching out,
which is where none of us are familiar with these days.
No, not at all. Not at all. So if I reach out and literally bring love, bring attention, bring friendliness in, if I'm reaching, even if I don't feel it, this is the one, if you will let yourself go through the motions, what you're doing is beginning to move your torso. And when you do that, you're waking up the center of your body where you can come home to, and you can go, oh, okay, it's all right for me to be here. And you're literally being with yourself, which is, in my opinion, the definition of love, that I'm able to be with myself. So if I do that, I start feeling, oh, okay, I'm not feeling so overwhelmed anymore. And in addition to those, which you can learn a lot more about on the Foundation for Conscious Living, I have found for people to slow down their breath and find their essence pace are two very reliable ways of shifting into your ability to respond rather than to react. And so most people, their breath, they're either holding their breath, so finding that relaxed, letting the in-breath go on over into the out-breath, but also letting yourself relax on the in-breath and tighten on the out breath. So because people are in that holding, so if you tighten on the out breath and relax on the in breath, that opens up your breath pump again to be able to support you, to give you the energy to be here. Because if you're not, it's amazing. In my work, I've seen how little air people are able to function with, which is just, it's really like, I'm just barely here. Yeah. So if you're letting your breath deepen, it just gives you more juice to enjoy, but also to work with. And then what I call essence pace, most of us are in the adrenaline loop, a faster, more, bigger, and that adrenaline doesn't allow us to actually experience presence.
Mm.
of being here, being able to connect, being able to choose. And so what I have people do is basically speed up and slow down. It's a very fun and easy thing to do. You can do it at home. Nobody has to see you doing it. You can do it out on a walk. So you speed up and slow down. And the idea is there's a pace where you can be aware of yourself and aware of your surroundings at the same time. And when you do that, the world opens up and becomes safe again.
Yeah.
And so I can be aware, oh, this is what I want. Oh, I want to go this direction. Oh, no, I don't want to go that direction. I want to go this. Oh, I want to reach out to this person. Okay, I think I want to be by myself now. So it allows you to let your body intelligence wake up and be able to inform you. It's actually also so much more efficient than hurry up, do more, how many things can I get done before I head out the door? That what I've really found, and especially during the pandemic and after, I found if I were moving at my essence pace, I was much more effective than if I were trying to do everything I could get done in the next half an hour before I go on to the next thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. Because, that leads to the drain, the collapse, the life force, all those fear responses. So
all the fear responses. Yeah.
I mean, this is not the first time I've heard you talk about these things, but I feel like every time you do, I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time because it's it's the way you deliver it, but it just reminds me how accessible movement can be to facilitate different thinking. Like you don't have to live this way forever. My thing is always, it comes down to moving differently. And so just reminding people like, ooze, wiggle, put your feet on the floor. It's like, I think for a lot of people hearing this, sometimes it becomes like wait, what is that? Let me write that down. Hold on. Make foot on floor. Right. We're like, it really is that simple. Just find your feet.
And people, I'm sure you run into this too, that people think it's too simple.
Yes, I get that. There's got to be more. What's the next piece?
Because life is very complicated and it's hard. And if you're giving me this simple, do you think I'm stupid? So the sense that what I was just thinking of when you were sharing here is, for one thing I found very effective is if I feel myself caught in something, I let myself do it a little more. So rather than trying to fix it.
Yeah, lean into
trying to get rid of it, I do it a little bit more. Like I go, I was trying to, I'm cringing. Because it gives me information, but so do it a little bit more and then make one new choice.
Yeah.
So what's one thing I could do here that would feel friendly to me? I could let my shoulders go.
Right.
So look at a different direction. I'm listening to myself rather than trying to control myself. So if something is going on, often we look at ourselves like, oh, what's wrong now? Are you ever going to get things together here? Rather than
what should I fix? This is broken.
What should I get rid of? But when I do it a little bit more, it's like, oh, honey, I see. Oh, that's the owie. Oh, okay. And then even when I'm, play acting it, when I do that, I immediately get more breath. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. And that sense of embracing myself, of being with myself, then I'm ready to take a step to connect out in the world more. And so recognizing that that my inner language, the language particularly of moving. So in our trainings, it's very basic. If you're not breathing, get breathing. And if you're not moving, get moving.
Get moving.
No, it's really that simple. But the moving, if I'm looking at myself as an object rather than how am I wanting to move, or what's a choice I could make right now that's friendly, or what's something I could do that I haven't done before? What's a way of moving that is different than, and it can be very simple, but what it does is give your whole body intelligence and sense of, oh, I get to be included. Oh, I'm back in the game now.
Yeah. So true. I will make sure that links to, your foundation, your website, your work are included in the notes for this so that anybody listening has access to that. Please go not even skim, deep dive into these resources because it's just a wealth of information for yourselves. And also, I imagine a lot of you are therapists, so you're going to want resources for your clients as well, coaches, mental health professionals. Katie, thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. We could talk forever. Maybe we'll have the opportunity to do more segments. But I just want to thank you so much for your openness and willingness to talk about what you love and your passion and sharing it with us.
Oh, my pleasure. And back at you.
Oh, wow. We have that in common, right? Well, definitely till next time. And thank you again so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.